All right, guys. I can't fucking. I'm looking at the camera and like looking at my fucking hair, and it's just so ridiculous. I can't believe I fucking did this shit. Sorry. Welcome back to another episode of Scary Sundays. Um, so today's episode is kind of quick. I just wanted to talk about what was on my mind, which has to do with this situation. And, I dyed my hair red because it was something that I've always wanted to try. And it kind of suits the aesthetic of my new album that I'm putting out in the spring of next year or late winter, I guess. And red's my favorite color. It's just honestly just something that I've always wanted to try. And I'm a very much like I'll try anything once kind of person. Well, not anything. I probably won't ever do heroin unless I'm like 102. Then I'll probably do heroin. If I'm like 102 and like healthy enough to do heroin, then like I'll give it a shot at that age. So there are things that I won't try, but for the most part, like I'm like a lover of life and I'm down to try different things. One of those things is coloring my hair red. But what I wanted to talk about in this video is, after dyeing it, I've been experiencing a lot of just like I've been having a lot of like thoughts because it's so dramatic. Like I bleached my hair earlier this year, and that felt dramatic for me at the time because before then I had never done anything to my hair. But bleaching your hair is like not that weird. Like a lot of people do it. It's like almost to this point where it's like almost like its own style. It's like people don't really like turn heads too much, but when you dye your hair red like this, just like bright red, and it just looks so out of the ordinary. Every time I look in the mirror, like I've just been noticing myself having all these thoughts, and sometimes like kind of like second guessing, like, should I have done this? Like, this is like so extreme and so extra. Like, I don't know if this was necessarily like the best idea. And I've been having all these thoughts, and overall, like I'm still happy with the decision, especially because in like a few months when my hair starts growing out again, it's going to be this really dope like red and black combo that I think is going to be super unique. And that kind of brings me to the point of this Scary Sundays, which is I've been noticing within myself an awareness of the different reasons why I wanted to dye my hair such an extreme color, right? Like why I wanted to dye it red. And I don't want to use the terms bad or good, but how healthy some of those reasons are, and this on the spectrum of maturity or health, we could say, of those reasons. And what I've uncovered is that, on one level, like it's a strategic move in a way, like as an artist, because it's so distinctive that it, in a very like just optics oriented, almost like you could argue like shallow way, it just kind of helps me stand out, and that's cool. And also it's strategic because it's in line with the aesthetic of my album. And, it's also strategic internally because it helps me kind of step into a new identity of like playing more guitar and kind of like tapping into my rock and roll roots a little bit more. Kind of helps me embody this like punk energy a little bit more, which has been something that I've been really exploring in my music and that you guys will hear on the album when it comes out. So those are all like cool, useful reasons. And, it's just fun. Like I just wanted to try it out. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is my life. I like doing weird shit like this. And I wanted to try it out. And another pretty healthy reason, I think, is that it allows me to face a healthy level of social anxiety, because every time I go outside, I mean, here in New York, it's cold, so I've been wearing a beanie a lot. But, like when I go to Mexico in a couple weeks or whatever, I have to deal with the fact that I'm walking outside and everybody knows my hair is red. And like, sometimes like I get self-conscious about that because it's just like such an extreme look. So that's actually like a healthy thing for me. It's like a constructive exercise in facing my fear of social judgment and just becoming more okay with like not caring what people think and basically developing higher levels of social freedom. So all of those reasons I described, from like the business reasons, the strategic reasons, the internal reasons for my own enjoyment, and also for my own growth, like becoming more comfortable with just being perceived a certain way. Those are all great reasons. But, if I'm being totally honest with myself, what I also uncovered was there's also a subtle, uh, like just yearning for attention. Like there's this very, like, that's definitely a part of it too. There's this part of me that just wanted to do it so that like people just like notice me and I stand out and I feel unique and special, which is a primal thing that we all have as humans, right? Like we all want to feel unique and special. And what's interesting is that, you know, I think oftentimes we either don't want to admit to ourselves how much that desire to feel unique and special is actually driving our behavior. And I'm using my example with the red hair as like kind of an extreme example because it's so noticeable and it's like such an like whatever, like, noticeable thing. But I think in subtle ways, we're always doing this in our lives. In subtle ways, we're always doing little things that if we're really honest with ourselves, if we really take the moment to introspect, we'll find out like, oh, partially why I'm doing this. Yeah, there might be all these other good reasons that I'm telling myself on the surface, and those may be true and valid, but another reason that I'm doing this may have to do with the fact that I just want attention, right? Like I just want people to notice me. And the point of this video is to kind of bring that into the light and express for myself and, for whoever else is watching, like hopefully this relates and helps, to bring that into the light and be okay with it. Like be okay with the fact that, yes, I'm not denying the fact that partially the reason I did this is like from a place of narcissism, from a place of wanting to be seen and looked at uniquely, or looked at like, oh, it's so extreme or whatever, or so cool or special. And to not A, deny that, or B, shame and repress it. So A, not to deny it as in like, just like, no, that's not it. Or B, like try to pretend like I'm like above that and like no, I actually don't care what people think, because ultimately like I do. Like it's a very cosmetic optical alteration that I've made, right? So it's like clearly there's a part of me that wants people to notice, and just to admit that in and of itself is very liberating, rather than trying to pretend like that's not the motivation and sort of trying to act like I'm above that, or I'm like more spiritually like enlightened than needing to have people's approval or whatever. Or worse yet, to be just completely unaware of it and just like have that be the only reason that's driving you to do something like that. And there's no other reason other than that you just are like constantly seeking attention. Which in this case is not the case, because there are other reasons that I spoke about earlier in the video. So yeah, it's something I've been thinking about, like, because every time I look in the mirror, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, this is like so intense. Like, and obviously I'm going to be more self-conscious about it than anybody else because it's on my head. And again, that's just like, again, that's coming from a subtle place of narcissism. So just to be aware of how often we're referring back to ourselves. Again, I'm using it as an extreme example in this video, but in all the subtle ways that we're constantly modifying, moving attention away from ourselves or bringing attention towards ourselves to try to be seen or not seen in a certain light, in a way that makes us feel favorable about ourselves. And the first step to taking some of that power back and learning to not, quote unquote, give a fuck what people think, is to first admit that we actually do really give a fuck, right? Because so long as we're repressing it and pretending like we don't, that mechanism is just working under the surface and we're not aware of it. But the moment we can just admit like, yeah, actually I do really care what people think, and I do seek attention in all these ways, and probably many other ways that I'm not aware of, that is the day that we start our process towards freedom from those things. First, you need to bring those things into the light, and then you can start becoming aware of them in the moment and choosing to respond differently. So an example I'll give is like, yes, like I'm doing this partially to attract attention, And then when I walk into CVS, right, and like I just need to buy some soap, in that moment, I'd prefer that my hair like isn't red, like in that moment, because in that moment, like I'm not doing a photo shoot for my music. I'm not like flexing on Instagram or whatever. Like I'm just trying to get some soap. I don't really want to be seen. I just want to like get in, get out. And I feel self-conscious because like the person's just like, wow, this guy's hair is crazy. And I just feel socially awkward sometimes in those situations. And just to know, like, okay, this is a situation where that desire to draw attention to myself, like I'm getting what I wanted, I'm getting what I asked for, but in this moment, it's not necessarily um, uh, pleasurable, right? Um, and so, just to be aware of those hidden motivations for why we do things is super interesting. And just to sum up this video, the point or thesis of this Scary Sundays is just to offer to you guys that I've been experiencing after coloring my hair red, like noticing all the ways that our decision making is so much more nuanced than we think it is, and how there's so many different factors that go into making our decisions, and they're on a spectrum of unconscious to conscious, and they're also on a spectrum of quote unquote insecure, meaning like caring about what other people think, and secure, meaning like just really being like solid and grounded in ourselves. And the more that we can be aware of that whole spectrum, the more that we can, in the moment, be mindful of the decisions we're making and start to more consistently live from a secure place. So, yeah, I hope this video was insightful. It was therapeutic for me just to talk about it, honestly, because shit's so ridiculous. Yeah, love you guys. Catch you soon.